The Galactic Assembly Chamber on Xylos Prime held 63 species beneath its crystalline dome. Light bent through living architecture, colors no human eye could name cascading across floating podiums. Ambassador Mei Chen stood at the entrance, her diplomatic robes humble gray against the biological splendor surrounding her. She was the first human to address the assembly directly. Ambassador Chen of Earth, the announcer's voice resonated through organic membranes. Petitioner for species status recognition. Petitioner, not member, not equal, petitioner. Chen walked forward, her footsteps silent on the bioluminescent floor. Behind her, 2 human aides carried nothing, no weapons, no gifts, no symbols of power. Humanity had learned that empty hands spoke louder than clenched fists. At least, that was the theory. The central platform rose to meet her. Above, in the gallery of observers, she spotted the Vrol delegation. Their supreme commander, a being called Vexthar of the Thousand Claws, watched her with compound eyes that reflected everything and revealed nothing. The Vrol had dominated galactic politics for 8,000 years. Their technology borders on magical, their military could extinguish stars, and their disdain for young species was legendary. Ambassador Chen, the assembly speaker, began, a floating gas giant of a creature called a luminary. You seek recognition for Sol Collective. State your case. Chen activated her translation matrix. Her voice emerged clean and neutral. Humanity requests full membership in the Galactic Assembly, access to trade networks, and protection under interstellar law. We have achieved FTL travel, colonized 12 systems, and demonstrated. Demonstrated what exactly? Vexthar's voice cut through the chamber like a blade. The Vrol didn't bother with translation devices. They projected meaning directly into minds, an invasive, arrogant technology that humanity had refused to implant. Your species has existed for a cosmic blink. Your technology is borrowed. Your military is laughable. You've never even faced a real war. Chen's aide stiffened. She kept her expression neutral. Commander Vexthar, with respect, humanity has faced many wars. We simply choose not to define ourselves by them. The chamber rippled with laughter, alien sounds, clicks and hisses and vibrations that translated as mockery. Vexthar descended from the gallery, 8 feet of chitin and muscle, his secondary arms folded, his primary claws clicking against the platform. He stopped inches from Chen. His pheromones washed over her, dominance, aggression, the chemical signature of a predator assessing prey. You will kneel, Vexthar said, not a request, a command. Chen blinked. I beg your pardon. All petitioner species kneel before the assembly. It's tradition. It demonstrates humility. His mandibles spread in what might have been a smile, unless humans are incapable of such basic courtesy. The luminary speaker hesitated. Commander, the tradition is optional. Vexthar turned, addressing the entire chamber. No, for a species that wishes to join the community of civilized beings, respect must be shown. Or has humanity forgotten its place? Chen saw the trap, refuse, and she confirmed human arrogance. Comply, and she confirmed human weakness. Either way, the Vrol would use this moment to argue against membership. She also saw the cameras. Every species in the galaxy was watching, including Earth. Slowly, deliberately, Chen lowered herself to one knee. Not both. One knee, head still high, eyes still locked on Vexthar's. I kneel to tradition, she said softly, nothing else. Vexthar laughed, a wet clicking sound, pathetic, even your submission is incomplete. He turned his back on her. The assembly has seen enough, humanity is not ready, perhaps in another century when you've learned. He never finished. Because Chen stood. Not dramatically, not aggressively. She simply rose to her feet, dusted off her robes, and spoke into the silence. Commander Vexthar, humanity has a saying. Those who demand respect rarely deserve it. The chamber went cold. Vexthar spun, claws extended. You dare. I dare nothing, Chen's voice remained calm. I merely observe. You've shown the galaxy how the Vrol treat equals today. Memory is long, Commander, and humans. She smiled. We never forget. She walked out. Behind her, the assembly erupted. Vexthar screamed something about sanctions, about destroying Earth, about teaching humanity its place, but every species in that chamber had heard the truth. And when the Vrol broadcast the humiliation across human space, showing Ambassador Chen on one knee, labeling humanity as weak, as primitive, as food. Something changed. On Earth, the broadcasts played for exactly 6 hours. Then every screen went dark, and humanity began to smile. The Vrul didn't know it yet, but they had just made the oldest mistake in the universe. They made humanity angry. And anger was just the beginning. 3 days after the assembly incident, Ambassador Chen stepped off her shuttle at Beijing Spaceport. No crowds waited, no reporters, just a single figure in civilian clothes, her predecessor, retired Ambassador Marcus Webb. May, he hugged her, hell of a first contact. They wanted a reaction. Chen walked beside him through empty concourses. I didn't give them one. Webb nodded slowly. Earth saw something else. They saw you nailing. I was making a point. And Vexthar made a bigger one. Webb stopped at the exit. Outside, the sky looked normal, blue, peaceful, oblivious. The president wants you at the briefing. Everyone's there. Military, intelligence, the science council. Chen's stomach tightened. Everyone. Everyone who matters. Webb's eyes were grave. They've already started. The briefing room beneath the Rocky Mountains held exactly 47 people. Chen recognized generals she'd only seen in classified files, scientists whose work bordered on myth, and at the center a holographic projection of Vrul space, thousands of systems, millions of warships, an empire that had crushed civilizations older than human evolution. President Okonkwo stood at the head of the table. No greetings, no preamble. Ambassador Chen, your assessment. Chen stepped forward. The Vrul are bullies, powerful bullies but predictable. They humiliated us to maintain dominance. They expected fear or rage. They didn't get either. So we do nothing, a general voice sharp. No, Chen turned to the hologram. We do something they can't predict. We withdraw. Silent. We close every embassy, recall every diplomat, shut down every trade agreement. We make ourselves invisible. That's surrender, another voice said. Chen shook her head. It's subtraction. The Vrul understand war. They understand diplomacy. They do not understand species that vanish on purpose. President Okonkwo studied her, and when they come looking, they won't. They'll assume we're scared. They'll celebrate. They'll broadcast their victory across the galaxy. Chen's smile was thin, and while they're celebrating, we work. The next month changed everything. Human colonies went dark, not destroyed, not abandoned, but silent. No transmissions, no traffic, nothing. Ships entering human space found empty systems, lifeless worlds, and a single repeating message. Sol Collective is closed for maintenance. Thank you for your understanding. The galaxy was baffled. The Vrul were ecstatic. See, Vexthar proclaimed before the assembly. One moment of humiliation, and the humans scatter like insects. They were never worthy of membership. The luminary speaker expressed concern. They've left their territory completely. That's unprecedented. Unprecedented weakness. Vexthar dismissed it. The humans are irrelevant. But a few species, older ones, wiser ones, noticed something strange. The Vrul's intelligence networks reported nothing. Human signals had simply stopped, not encrypted, not scrambled, absent, as if humanity had pressed a mute button on the entire species. And somewhere in the dark between stars, human engineers were working on something the Vrul couldn't imagine. Not weapons. Worse. On the 83rd day of silence, a Vrul scout ship entered the Sol system. They expected ruins. They found Earth, beautiful, blue, breathing, with a single orbital platform broadcasting on every frequency. The message was text only, 3 words. We remember. The scout commander laughed nervously and ordered a full scan. The platform was empty, no weapons, no defenses, nothing but a data cache filled with colonial records, trade manifests, and old diplomatic correspondence. Ancient history. Irrelevant. The commander filed his report and left. He never noticed the second message, buried in the data cache like a virus, like a seed, like a prayer. It wasn't for Vrul eyes. It was for something older, something listening. Something that had been waiting for humanity to call. The Vrul celebrated their victory for 90 days. On day 91, every clock in the Empire stopped. And something whispered back. The Vrol cargo vessel Silent Claw drifted through the periphery, a region of space so unremarkable that even pirates avoided it. Captain Thrax's 4 crew members were bored, underpaid, and counting cycles until shore leave. Then the singing started. Report, Thrax's mandibles clicked with irritation. What's that noise? Navigator Vix consulted his console. Unknown signal, Captain. Audio only, no encryption, no source coordinates. Play it. The cargo bay speakers crackled, then resolved into sound. Voices, hundreds of them, thousands, a choir singing in a language that made Thrax's head ache, not because it was loud, because it was wrong. The harmonies bent in ways that violated auditory physics. The rhythm shifted between heartbeats. Shut it off, Thrax ordered. Vix pressed commands. The singing continued. I said shut it off. I can't, Captain. The system isn't responding. The singing grew louder. Words began emerging from the melody, not translated but understood. Ancient words, forbidden words. We are the holes they forgot to fill. We are the silence between seconds. We have been waiting. Thrax felt something cold crawl down his spine. Emergency broadcast now. Static. Comms are down, Vix whispered. Everything's down, navigation, life support, we're. The lights died. In the darkness, the singing became a whisper. They humiliated the ambassador. They laughed at the kneeling one. They should not have done that. The Silent Claw went silent, no distress call, no escape pods, just a dead ship drifting through empty space, its crew found days later by a Vrol patrol. The crew was alive. They couldn't stop screaming. The Vrol Empire dismissed the incident as equipment failure, space madness, 100 rational explanations for irrational fear, but over the next week, more reports came in. A mining facility in the Krell Belt lost power for exactly 72 seconds. When it returned, every worker described the same thing, a choir singing about teeth in the dark. A science vessel studying a neutron star reported their FTL drive activating by itself, jumping them to a coordinate that didn't exist. When they returned, their logs contained a single entry: "We are not alone, we were never alone, and they are angry." A colony world lost all communications for 6 hours. When contact resumed, the governor transmitted only one sentence: "What did the humans do?" Vexthar convened an emergency council. "This is sabotage," he declared. "Human technology, human tricks, they're trying to frighten us." A science advisor disagreed. "Commander, the phenomena violate known physics. Human science is advanced, but this is something else. The energy signatures alone are irrelevant." Vexthar's claws scraped the table. "The humans are primitive. They cannot affect us across interstellar distances. This is psychological warfare, nothing more." "Then explain the Silent Claw." Vexthar paused. The science advisor projected the report: crew vitals, ship logs, audio recordings. The singing played through the council chamber. Every Vrol in the room flinched. "Send a fleet," Vexthar ordered. "Find the source, destroy it." The fleet never reached Earth. They jumped into the Sol system and found nothing. No ships, no stations, no defenses. Just Earth hanging in the void, quiet as a grave. And then the singing started. Not from human sources, from inside the Vrol ships, from the walls, the ceilings, the flesh of the crew themselves. The song crawled through their nervous systems, rewriting memories, planting whispers, showing them things that couldn't exist. One pilot reported seeing a human ambassador kneeling, then standing, then growing, her shadow stretching across the galaxy until it swallowed stars. Another described looking into a mirror and seeing his own face melting into something older, something that remembered when the Vrol were young, and the humans were ancient, and the universe had different rules. The flagship's captain, a veteran of 100 campaigns, transmitted one final message before his ship went dark. "They're not attacking us, they're just showing us what we are to them, what we've always been." "And what is that?" The captain laughed, a broken, horrible sound. Insects were insects, and humanity just called pest control. The Vrol fleet never fired a shot. But something heard their screams. And somewhere on Earth, Ambassador Chen poured herself a cup of tea and waited for the phone to ring. The Vrol Empire didn't collapse overnight. It unraveled slowly at first, then all at once, like a thread pulled from a tapestry. It started with the FTL drives. Vrol ships relied on dimensional folding, a technology so advanced that younger species called it magic. But on the 98th day after the assembly incident, every Vrol FTL drive in existence began producing the wrong coordinates. Ships emerged from jumps inside stars. Fleets materialized in asteroid fields. A battle cruiser appeared exactly where it had started, except the star behind it was 12 years older. Engineers found impossible code embedded in their navigation systems. Not malware, not a virus, something deeper, something written in the language of mathematics itself, hidden so elegantly that it had always been there, waiting for the right trigger. Triggers like a human ambassador being forced to kneel. "We've been blind," a Vrol scientist confessed during an emergency broadcast. "The humans didn't hack our systems, they predicted them. They reverse-engineered our FTL physics centuries ago and seeded every equation with a trap. Every ship we ever built carries their signature. Every jump we ever made ran their code." How? Vexthar demanded. The scientists' answer haunted the Empire. They didn't beat us with better weapons, they beat us with better understanding. They looked at our technology and saw poetry, and they rewrote the poem. Next came the weapons. Vrol plasma cannons, capable of cracking planets, began refusing to fire, not malfunctioning, refusing. Their targeting systems displayed messages in human languages: target not authorized, permission denied, you have been reported for aggressive intent. A Vrol admiral, desperate to demonstrate force, ordered his flagship to fire on an uninhabited moon. The cannon warmed up, charged to maximum, and then displayed a single line of text. "Warning, violence is a failure of imagination. Please try again." The crew laughed nervously. Then the cannon fired directly into the flagship's own reactor. The ship survived, the admiral did not. The final blow came from within. The Vrol had conquered or subjugated 37 species over 8,000 years. They'd called it uplifting. The rest of the galaxy called it slavery, but fear had kept everyone in line. Now fear was gone. The Kraga, a reptilian species enslaved for 3 millennia, rose first. Their rebellion lasted 6 hours, not because the Vrol suppressed it, but because Vrol weapons simply stopped working whenever pointed at Kraga bodies. The same happened with the Xylans, the Thresh, the Myrmidon swarm. Every subject species found their chains dissolving, their oppressors powerless, their freedom delivered by invisible hands. A Kraga chieftain recorded a message that spread across the galaxy like wildfire. "We didn't ask humanity for help, we didn't even know they existed until the Vrol made an enemy of them. But somewhere, somehow, the humans looked at our suffering and said, not today, today we are free, tomorrow we remember who freed us." Vexthar watched his empire crumble from his command spire on Xylos Prime. The assembly had dissolved into chaos. Subject species declared independence by the hour. Vrol civilians rioted in the streets, demanding answers, demanding blood, demanding anything but this silent, patient, humiliating collapse. "They're not even fighting us," he whispered to his reflection. "They're just waiting." His communication console activated. Not a Vrol channel, something older, something human. Ambassador Mei Chen appeared on the screen. She looked exactly as she had on the assembly floor, calm, composed, serene. Behind her, Earth rotated slowly, blue and green, and utterly unbothered. "Commander Vexthar," she said, "I trust you've been well." His claws dug into his own flesh. "What have you done?" "What you asked for," Chen tilted her head. "You wanted to see human weakness, we showed you. You wanted to see human submission, we gave it. You wanted to see what happens when you push a species to its breaking point." She smiled. "Congratulations, you found it." "You're monsters." Chen laughed, a light, genuine sound. "No, Commander, we're mathematicians, poets, dreamers. We just happen to be very, very good at understanding systems, including the system of your empire, including the system of reality itself." She leaned closer to the camera. You wanted to see what humans fear most. We just showed you what fears us. The transmission ended. Vexthar sat in silence for a long moment. Then he activated his emergency channel and broadcast on every frequency. Vrul Empire to Galactic Assembly, we surrender, name your terms. The answer came from empty space, from the dark between stars, from the mouths of every being who had ever suffered under Vrul claws. Terms will be delivered by Ambassador Chen. You will kneel. Vexthar had once demanded humanity kneel. Now the galaxy waited to see if he was brave enough to do the same. The delegation arrived at the edge of the Sol system in a shuttle so battered it looked like salvage. Vexthar had chosen it himself. No warship, no escort, no pretense of power. Just an old transport with a leaking oxygen recycler and a crew of 5 trembling Vrul officials. They broadcast their surrender on every frequency for 3 days before Earth responded. Proceed to lunar orbit, await further instructions. The delegation waited, hours became days, their food ran low, their water grew stale, and all around them the Sol system pulsed with activity. Human ships moving in patterns that made no sense, orbital platforms humming with energy signatures that shouldn't exist, and everywhere, the quiet hum of something watching. On the 4th day, a single shuttle departed Earth. It carried Ambassador Mei Chen and 2 aides. The meeting took place in the delegation's own shuttle. No human territory, no advantage, just a battered cabin and a folding table. Chen entered wearing the same gray robes she'd worn at the assembly. Her hair was the same, her expression was the same. She could have been walking into any diplomatic meeting anywhere. Vexthar saw the terror in that calm. Ambassador Chen, his voice cracked, the great commander of the 1,000 Claws, reduced to this, a broken creature begging before a species he'd dismissed as insects. I. Please, Chen sat across from him, take your time. She poured tea, real tea, from a thermos, the steam rising in the cold cabin air. She pushed a cup toward Vexthar. He didn't touch it. Our empire is gone, he said instead. Our fleets are dead, our subject species have abandoned us, our technology doesn't work, our civilians are starving, we have nothing left. Chen nodded, I know. We surrender unconditionally, do what you want with us, imprison us, execute us, we don't care, just stop whatever you're doing, please. The word hung in the air, please, a Vrul commander begging. Chen sipped her tea. Commander Vexthar, do you know why humans are so terrifying? He couldn't answer. Because we've been afraid for so long that we learned to weaponize it. Every nightmare you've ever had, every fear of the dark, the unknown, the thing watching from the corner of your eye, humans have felt that, and we survived, we thrived, we turned our fear into fuel. She set down her cup. You humiliated me in front of the galaxy. You called my species weak. You made us kneel. Her voice didn't change, still calm, still soft. And we responded by dismantling your entire civilization without firing a single shot. Vexthar's claws trembled. What do you want? Nothing. Nothing. Chen stood. You came here expecting revenge, expecting punishment, expecting humans to be just like every other species, vindictive, cruel, hungry for blood. She walked to the viewport. Earth hung below them, beautiful and silent. We're not, we never were. She turned back. You wanted to see what humans fear most. We showed you the void between stars, the things that live there, the nightmares that predate your empire by billions of years. But here's the truth, Commander. She smiled. Those things, they fear us. The terms were simple. The Vrul Empire would dissolve. Its remaining territories would become protectorates under Galactic Assembly oversight, not human rule, never human rule. Vrul technology would be shared equally among all species, including the former subject races, and Vexthar himself would return to the Assembly and kneel before every delegate he'd ever humiliated. If you refuse, Chen said, we'll walk away. We'll leave you to your collapsed empire, your failing technology, your starving civilians. We won't help, we won't hurt, we'll just watch. Vexthar signed. The assembly chamber was packed when Vexthar knelt. Every species in the galaxy watched as the great commander lowered himself to the floor, one knee at a time, head bowed, arms spread in submission. He didn't speak, he didn't need to, the act said everything. Ambassador Chen sat in the observer gallery. She didn't smile, she didn't gloat. She simply watched, calm as stone, as the galaxy's most powerful empire crumbled into memory. Afterward, a reporter asked her, "How does it feel?" Chen considered the question. "You haven't seen anything yet," she said quietly. "The real terror, we haven't even started." The reporter went pale. Chen walked away, and somewhere behind her, Earth's orbital platforms began transmitting a new signal, not to the Vrul, not to the assembly, but to the void itself. A single question. Are you still watching? The darkness between stars held its breath. And something ancient, something patient, something that had been listening since before time began, finally answered. Humanity took their seat in the Galactic Assembly exactly 1 year after Ambassador Chen knelt before Vexthar. They didn't claim Vrul territory, they didn't demand tribute, they didn't establish a military presence or enforce their will through violence. Instead, they simply walked into the chamber, took the empty seats that had been prepared for them, and proposed a single law. The dignity accords: no species may publicly humiliate another without facing collective consequences. Definition of humiliation to be determined by an independent council of victim species. Penalties to be decided case by case. Enforcement to be optional. The assembly debated for 3 days. Species that had suffered under Vrul rule demanded harsh punishments. Others worried about unintended consequences. A few suggested humanity was simply replacing one tyrant with another. Ambassador Chen listened to all of it, then she rose to speak. "You're all missing the point." The chamber went quiet. The Vrul humiliated us because they could, because no one stopped them, because the galaxy ran on fear and power and the strong eating the weak. She looked around at the assembled delegates, 63 species, most of them older than humanity, most of them more advanced, all of them suddenly paying attention. We didn't defeat the Vrul to become them. We defeated them to prove it didn't have to be this way. A delegate from the Kraga raised a claw. Then why the Accords? Why any law at all? Because mercy is scarier than revenge, Chen smiled. The Vrul expected us to destroy them. They would have understood that. They would have respected that. Instead, we gave them mercy. We let them live. We let them rebuild. We let them watch while their victims rose and their empire crumbled and their cruelty became a cautionary tale. She spread her hands. Revenge ends, mercy haunts forever. Every time a Vrul looks at the stars, they'll remember that humans could have wiped them out and chose not to. That's power they can never fight. That's a lesson they can never unlearn. The Accords passed unanimously. But something else happened during those 3 days, something the Assembly didn't notice. Human scientists working in secret finished their final project. They called it the Weave. The Weave wasn't a weapon, it wasn't a shield. It wasn't even technology in any traditional sense. It was a fundamental reprogramming of reality's source code, a patch to the universe that made cruelty impossible. Not illegal, not immoral, impossible. Any being who attempted to humiliate another would find their words dying in their throat. Any species that tried to enslave another would discover their tools refusing to function. Any empire that reached for dominance would watch its power dissolve like morning frost. The Weave didn't punish, it simply prevented. And it had been active for 6 months before humanity took their assembly seats. Ambassador Chen revealed the truth at the closing ceremony. "You're probably wondering how we really did it," she said, addressing the assembly. "How a primitive species defeated the greatest empire in galactic history without firing a shot." She touched her chest right over her heart. "We rewrote the rules. The Vrul didn't lose because we were stronger. They lost because we understood something they didn't, that cruelty is a choice, and choices can be removed." The assembly erupted, demands for explanation, accusations of mind control, fears of human domination. Chen waited them out. "You're free to reject the Weave," she said finally. "You're free to return to your old ways, the wars, the humiliations, the endless cycles of revenge. But here's the thing about the Weave." She smiled, not cruelly, not triumphantly, but with something warmer, something almost sad. "It wasn't our invention, we just found it. The Weave has always been there, buried in the fabric of reality, waiting for someone to notice. waiting for someone to ask the right question. And what question is that? Chen looked past the assembly, past the stars, past the edge of the universe itself. What are we so afraid of? The galaxy changed after that, not overnight but inevitably. Species that had spent millennia at each other's throats found themselves unable to draw blood. Empires that had relied on fear discovered that fear no longer served them. The strong learned humility, the weak found voice. And somewhere in the dark between stars, something ancient smiled. The weave hadn't been waiting for just anyone. It had been waiting for a species capable of finding the question. A species that knew fear intimately, that had faced extinction 1,000 times, that had clawed its way from caves to stars on nothing but stubbornness and hope. Humans. The universe had been holding its breath for 13 billion years, waiting for someone to ask what came after survival. What came after power? What came after revenge? Mercy, it turned out, mercy and dignity, and the quiet terror of being forgiven when you deserved nothing but fire. Ambassador Chen returned to Earth and lived a quiet life. She never spoke of the Vrul again. But on her deathbed, centuries later, surrounded by descendants who had never known war, she whispered one final truth to the recording devices that would carry her voice to the stars. We didn't reprogram reality, we just asked it a question, and for the first time in history, the universe answered. What question? She smiled. Are you afraid of us yet? The stars held their silence. But somewhere in the vast and endless dark, something that had watched galaxies be born and die finally whispered back. Yes, and that is why humanity is the most terrifying species in the universe. Not because we conquered, not because we destroyed, but because we chose not to.